Hey y'all, Benjamin here. I want to share another quick video. I was out here doing making a book cover. I got this hide, this elk hide I've been working with to make. I made a really nice bag out of this hide, and then I made a couple cigar cases for some of the guys and things like that. Anyway, we'll see how this little book cover turns out. It may end up just being this is like a Robusto cigar. It's a smaller, shorter cigar. And it may actually just end up being better for that, which is okay. Even though I cut my cigar consumption down significantly. I was maybe about 5 months there. I was kind of smoking cigars fairly regular. Now it's like one a week, something like that. I wanted to tell a story. I was telling this the other day to some people at work. Middle management, and how how interesting it is. I work in a very corporate setting, right? Um, and I don't have any issues with my current management, nor my former management for that matter. I switched roles recently. I didn't really have any big problems with anybody really, though some of my coworkers did, and boy, they let you know about it. But I didn't in particular. But I do want to tell a story about a middle manager guy. And those middle management guys end up running the show. They end up running the company. They're going for the head seat there. And for some reason, I don't know why, they're just not good managers. They're not really good supervisors. I don't understand it. Let me tell you a story. So I used to work at a particular place at a very specialized facility, and I was an armed security officer for this facility, and had a lot of moving parts. It was the potential is there, and that's why they need armed security. But it's a pretty mellow job. You could get pretty busy, but on the balance of probabilities, it's pretty safe for the most part. But I can definitely see why they need all those armed guards there, and there's lots of them. But there was this one manager there, just this Lord Farquaad, little sawed-off, short, fat guy. He's kind of what he's the security that gives security a bad name. Do you know what I mean? Like, um, I don't know why security always happens to have. You either had high speed folks or just very low speed folks. There's no in between, like no middle ground. It was like, anyway, you get it. And man, this guy hated me, and for just reasons that I don't know. Um, he'd written me up for a few things, and I mean, I get it. I don't want to take away from him. Like one time, there was an incident. Didn't involve any coworkers. It wasn't like anything immoral, anything like that. It was I forgot to do a particular thing, let's say, and I got written up for it. And then every little thing, man, he would just come down on me. And people were, one coworker in particular is like, why does this guy? I won't say his name, but it's like, why does this guy after you all the time? Like, why does he hate you so much? And everybody knew it. The guy just didn't like me. And I remember I tried to promote over there and get it was just like a little bump in pay. It wasn't much, but it's not that hard of a job. It's really not. And keep in mind, at this point, I had already had law enforcement experience. I mean, that was a long time ago, but I had law enforcement experience, lots of volunteer time in different things like search and rescue. And at the time, I was also working in the fire department, um, like part time as a reservist. But I already had my EMT, um, and I was used to going on calls, emergency calls. Gone through a fire academy, all these things. I went through um, a different academy. Well, it was years before, but always training. I still always training in MMA, Krav. All the things: weapon retention, weapon disarm. Um, I felt like I was more high speed than the job was, but it's what I did to take care of my family at the time. I was married at the time. And he just would not stop hammering me, all of us. And it was just a miserable place to work because of that one guy, that one middle management. And he runs the place now, which is crazy to me. But one day I was in let's say, a particular mode of patrolling. I was patrolling this property, and I get a call over the radio from this guy saying, "Hey, could you come back over this way?" And I could look over and see him, so I drove over there, and he just looked sheet white, just completely no color. He couldn't hardly talk. He was mumbling his words. I couldn't understand him, and he was very quiet. And I told him, I said, "Get in the truck, man." And so he hops in, and I drive him to this particular building, and he couldn't hardly even walk. And I get him in there and kind of hold the door for him and help him get in there and sit down. And I told the other security in there, I said, "Get everything off him. Take vest off, take, all his gear off, get his socks and shoes off, and put a fan on him." I was thinking something like a heat stroke, like a heat exhaustion, something like that. So he puts a fan on him, takes his socks and shoes off, and just kind of stripping everything down to his undershirt just so he could try to get some of that heat off of him. And I said, "Get him some water, give him some cold water." And he brought him some water, and he's sipping on water. Excuse me. And at the time, I was always carrying my blood pressure cuff, stethoscope, just stuff to check vitals on. And after about 3 to 5 minutes, like, he's not improving. He's not showing improvement. And so I'm starting to think, like, this isn't a heat thing. And it was very hot that day. And this isn't a heat thing. I think something else is going on. And so I asked him a series of particular questions that EMS asks, for history of medical, illnesses, all kinds of things, right? And I knew as soon as he gave me a particular answer, I'm keeping this all very vague for a reason, but once he gave me a particular answer on a particular question, I was like, he's having a heart attack, right? But I didn't tell him, "Hey, bro, you're having a heart attack," because I didn't want to exacerbate the situation and cause him to panic or freak out more. And he was in pain, you could tell. And this is the inefficiency of, in fact, I had words with a particular person after this whole event, but without going into much detail, in fact, I won't even go into detail on that. The inefficiency of the situation was awful. And probably a good 15 minutes was delayed and went by because of incompetency on somebody else's part. And I'm telling them, and to that person's credit, they didn't know that I was an EMT and that I at least had some medical training, right? And so they don't know me, they don't know my situation, and I kept telling them I need an ambulance, and they're like, "Well, we'll send the campus nurse over to check on them." I'm like, "Tell them we need an ambulance." "Oh, we'll send the nurse." So the nurse walks over to this other facility, and I know the guy, and he just says, "Ben, what do you need?" And I said, "He needs an ambulance." And then he tells the other security guy, you tell them that I said we need an ambulance. And then they send an ambulance, right? Huge delay. If someone says they need an ambulance, they need an ambulance, right? And I had words with that person later on. And he got rushed to the hospital. I handed the whole chart of questions you're supposed to ask as EMS, handed it over to the EMS when they got there. They rushed him over to the hospital, got him in the cath lab, and roto-rooted him within like 20 minutes, right? And he had like a crazy blockage, like 95%, something like that. He was circling the toilet. I was watching the man die. And it saved his life. And he was out of work for a while, a couple months. And I remember I was working when he came back to turn in some paperwork. And his spouse, his wife, was with him. And he come walking over to me, guy just doesn't like me, right? Like I said, for reasons that guy and I just did not see eye to eye on anything. And I go there to shake his hand, tell him, hey man, I'm glad you made it. And I go to shake his hand and he's like, come here. And he gives me a big hug, you know what I mean? Which was great. You know, he acknowledged that I'd done something on his behalf. And then the missus, she asked, are you Ben? And I said, yes, ma'am, I'm Ben. And she just starts weeping and she comes over and gives me a big hug. And thank you so much and all this. And it was great, you know, a little bit of recognition. And, you know, once he started working again, I told the guy, even though he was my superior, my supervisor, I said, look, man, I feel like I've earned the right to say this. But since you've been out of work for these couple months, man, work has been so much better. Everybody's happier. Morale is up. People don't mind coming to work. You know, you made it really hard to work here. And he's like, yeah, I was thinking about that, man. I gotta reconfigure some things about how I do things around here. And the funny thing is, though, this is the funny part of it. There's always people you can employee of the quarter. If you got employee of the quarter, I think you got an extra $200 on your paycheck. And then I think you got like a gift card to somewhere, right? Something like that. And then you get your name on this little plaque, you know, in the office and whatever, you know. And we would always joke about how only the white shirts are the people that are supervisors. We would joke about only white shirts get the employee of the quarter. No baseline guys get it. And my coworkers, not all of them, but some of them, you know, they sent an email to the head guy at the time. Hey, you know, I think Ben should get employee of the quarter. He did this for, you know, this person, blah, blah, blah. Saved his life, did these cool, you know. And it comes time for the employee of the quarter. And I was like, man, I hope I get that. Like at the time, you know, God, money was tight. And so any bit helps. And I was kind of like, oh, cool, I'll get employee of the quarter. I hope, you know, not only did I not get employee of the quarter, that guy got employee of the quarter, if you can believe that. And he's a white shirt, you know. And it was like, man, what do you got to do around here to like promote or to get a nod in your direction? Hey, good job. We acknowledge that you did this thing. Here's a pin. Here's a button. Here's an email, you know, sent out to everybody saying, you know, Ben did this great job, and thanks to him, you know, supervisor blah 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 is still with us today. Da da da. Nothing. Not a thing. And not that I would really care really in the first place, but it was just kind of like, I learned a valuable lesson, man. Corporate's gonna corporate, man. And you know, you don't even get like you know, you get like meets expectations, exceeds expectations, or you're below expectation or whatever. It's like none of it matters. I don't think it matters. I really don't. I mean, you can save people's lives, and you don't get the employee of the quarter. You don't. You know what I mean? I don't know. You know what that's like, but I just thought that was hilarious. Not only did I not get it, and this guy hated me, man, he hated me. Not only did I not get it, I saved the guy's life, which is consolation enough, to be honest. But there was no recognition. It was like, not only did I not get it, he got it. Isn't that hilarious? I just thought that was funny. Yeah, yeah. You know, the older I get, man, I hate to say this, man, but I was talking with some coworkers about this recently. It's like, man, nobody wants to go above and beyond at this point, you know? For what? You're not going to get a raise. You're not going to, people are foregoing promotions. They don't want to get a great review on their, you know, annually or quarterly, whatever review. Like, no one cares, you know? They just want to go to work and then go live their lives. And I love this shift in people's thinking. I love it. I love it in myself, for that matter. And I think it's great. Anyway, it's kind of a fun story. That's all. I enjoyed it. It was a great. It was a, you know, I was really glad to be that guy in that place at that time. Because I had some training, and you know, and actually that's led to my current role with my limited medical history, but it's also still employing me today. So that's good. Anyway, I just thought that was funny. Middle management. What are your thoughts?